1969, Dean graduates from high school.
Smoking a lot of pot.
Once he finishes undergrad, he applies to Harvard Medical School.
So I head off to Boston.
And it's in Boston that Dean encounters these two very, very important things. The first,
Gay liberation.
this very new part of the gay rights movement that is about being out, that is about gay pride.
My sort of first taste of activism.
And it's not as though Dean would become an activist, but
I went to my first gay pride parade.
in Boston, he's sort of swept up in a sea of a movement where you
And
can
I was like, oh.
go to gay bars.
At that point, I fell in love. It's amazing and fantastic.
But the other thing Dean would encounter in Boston was something that, for better or for worse, a part of this very gay rights movement would come to rely on him for.
Genetics.
He basically stumbled into it at Harvard, fell in love with it.
Because you're studying the blueprint of life. It explains everything. I mean, when you start, all of the instructions for everything that we develop into is hidden in that piece of DNA.
That was the promise of it. And that promise would end up entwining Dean and the gay rights movement.
So I decided to go work with
So, mid-70s, Dean gets his PhD from Harvard. He goes down to DC
the National Institutes of Health.
to do genetics work there,
It was all very basic science,
figuring out how genes turn on and off,
how your blood carries oxygen,
really technical stuff.
how copper islands induce the metallothionein gene. Why do you laugh?
It sounds very boring,
And interesting.
but he does the boring stuff.
For a good 10 years.
And so cut to,
I'm 40 years old.
it's now 1991.
I have a stable career at the National Institutes of Health, but I don't really want to spend the rest of my life working on something that fewer than a dozen people in the world appreciate.
I mean, it's the whole reason he got into this, to uncover something fundamental about nature.
At the same time,
So far tonight, we've been bringing you news of the world around us.
There's this revolution happening.
Now we have news of the incredible world inside us.
The very beginnings of
What is called the Human Genome
the
Project.
Human Genome Project.
A vast effort to map man's entire genetic system.
Scientists begin mapping out and identifying every single gene
The very building blocks of life.
in our chromosomes.
It's essentially like having an encyclopedia of man. Principle will know the complete set of
Hello,
instructions.
Jesse.
which
Nice to
make
see you.
people.
And for people like Dean,
it was new and exciting.
the belief was this is the thing that is actually going to unlock all of that mystery.
Hidden in that piece of DNA.
And not just the basic stuff.
From hair color to height.
But
listening
personality
to the radio.
traits,
Shyness, aggression,
empathy,
thrill-seeking,
alcoholism,
intelligence,
mental illness,
depression.
everything about life. And so
Nice
I
to
started
see you
thinking
too.
about, what are big questions? And it just occurs
I'll be
to me
live
that,
probably again later tonight.
wow,
Just listening to this right now.
attraction,
Desire.
sex, it's so important
To Dean,
Came at the right
it
time.
has to be encoded in us.
because the driving force of evolution is to make organisms that can have more organisms.
In other words, sex drives everything.
What could I learn about that?
Yeah, pretty much.
And so is he immediately like, oh my gosh, is there a genetic component to homosexuality?
No. And the first thought he said wasn't even about himself. It was
Because I'm gay, I know where I can get subjects.
other gay people.
Because whenever you're interested in a trait, the only powerful way to study it is to study the minor version of the trait. Because if you study something that everybody has, it's almost impossible through genetics to figure out how it works.
So the hope is by studying gay people, like that's actually the path into understanding the genetics of sexuality more broadly.
Huh. He says it wasn't at all about like homosexuality or the way he is.
No, I mean, everything I read of or from Dean, everything I've seen him say publicly and what he told me is, no, like it was just trying to understand sexuality and this being kind of the only way to do it. And so he and his team, they decided they're going to start with gay men.
Okay, just dudes first.
Right. So basically he pitches this to his bosses at the NIH
I got the green light.
and he began.
Just dudes.
So we started placing advertisements.
In gay papers,
Went to the HIV clinic right at the NIH.
went to a group called PFLAG.
Parents and friends of lesbians and gays.
Dean said, interview these gay men.
Right off the bat,
Almost all of them would say,
it was just there.
like Dean, they'd always just felt this way, But if you're going to show that that has anything to actually do with genetics, what you need
Our families.
And so he's like, okay, do you have any brothers? Do you have any sisters? Are they gay? What about mom? What about dad? Cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents? Do you think any of them are gay?
And I started traveling
All over the country,
California,
to
Pennsylvania,
the deep south.
to the Great Heartland.
He would sit down with these family members and ask them all these questions.
Basic information about their age and their birth. Then I would ask about their own sexuality.
Maybe
You know,
later.
when was your first sexual fantasy?
If you masturbate,
Who do you think about?
is it another guy or is it a woman or both? How many different people have you had sex with?
How many men? How many women?
How frequently?
How do you have sex?
Do you do oral? Do you do anal? Do you do masturbation?
I don't
Do
know why
you
there has to
do
be so much
rubbing?
space.
Yeah, that's the basic of a sex interview right there. And it was easy with a gay guy to ask, how often do you have sex and do you have anal or oral? It was a little bit tricky doing that with their great aunt in Duluth.
But so Dean does all these interviews. He collects blood from everybody. Eventually goes back to DC.
Mid 1992 or so.
This takes him like a whole year.
By that time, I have about 100 or so families, a little bit over that.
He starts drawing out by hand these family trees.
With squares for men and circles for women.
Fill in the circle or the square if definitely gay.
Blank if definitely heterosexual or thought to be heterosexual. And a big question mark if we're not sure.
When he's looking at him, he notices the gay men in a family.
There's virtually none on the father's side of the family. And it was like a light bulb went off. Because for geneticists, if you see something coming down the mother's side of the family, it means it could be on the X chromosome.
So oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes the Y comes from the dad, the X comes from the mom.
So anything on the X chromosome tends to come down the mother's side. To get DNA, you just take a little blood and pass it through a filter.
And he starts combing through many of these gay men's X chromosome.
The entire chromosome.
When he finds this tiny little
Rainbow.
No, Lulu, no.
Tomorrow's issue of Science magazine contains the results of a National Institutes of Health
He
study
finds this little genetic tweak.
which shows that male homosexuality may be genetically determined.
And it was this
No evidence today about what causes a man to be homosexual.
little bit of DNA
The origins of homosexuality.
that would become to some a source of comfort, to some a mystery. It would become this very powerful weapon.
Is it something that happens at birth? Or is it a lifestyle?
He's in the military.
58% are against legalizing gay marriages.
It's a cultural war.
We're mad as hell and we're not gonna take it anymore.
But this war is for the soul of America.
This is not a moral issue. This is a human rights issue.
We will be free.
What'd they say? Mr. Turtleduck said the Secret Service just came to my house. They say I don't know what the base is about on NPR. On Radiolab.
Progressive's rate comparison tool
I guess maybe we'll pick this up where we left off, but what'd they say while you're here?
Options to fit most
I mean, why'd they come to your house?
Progressive.com or
Are you having a party?
1-800 Progressive.
Radiolab is supported by
So,
Seed.com.
I'm gonna get going. I'll be back in a minute.
24 engineered to survive digestion, support the irregularity.
I think everybody types really fast, I guess. Maybe they don't. Alright, I'll be back in a minute, so I want to hear the end of that story. But I gotta go.
State agriculture officials are on high alert